Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to lesson 5.1 of the Intro to Java series. In this lesson we will be discussing arrays. The link to the text reading which goes along with this video is in the description, so be sure to check that out. What makes an array? When programming, there are many instances where you will want to collect lots of data and manipulate it. For example, you may want to keep track of a list of names or a series of coordinates, and instead of having to create an individual variable for each name, so we don't have to have name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, name 5, we can use arrays. Arrays act as container objects which contain a fixed amount of same type values. Each item in an array is referred to as an element, and each element is referred to by a numerical index which begins at 0. The total amount of indexes in a given array is known as the array length, or indices, I should have said. So the index starts at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so 0 through 9. That means that the length of the array would be 10. And in this array, the sixth element is at index 5, so that's just something I wanted to point out. Again, the array is 0 based, so we start at 0, not at 1. Alright, so let's check this stuff out. Move that out of the way. Okay, pulling up Eclipse, let's create a new Java project, and I will call this project 5_1. And go ahead and create a new class in there for testing. Or I'll just call it array test. And we will give that a main method. And we are ready to start learning how to make our arrays. So to create an array, it's very similar to creating other variables. We do integer. I'm making an array of integers. And we put these brackets here. Integer, user, ages. So what I'm keeping track of in this case is the ages of users. Equals new int, and then we put brackets in again, and we define a size. So I'm going to give this 10 elements, so 0 through 9. So that is how we create an array. Now we will add values to it. So we can do user ages 0, then we will add some type of number here. I'm going with 18. User ages 1, we will set that value to 52. And let me just copy paste this from the website, make it a little easier. So we have 0 through 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9. So now we have all 10 indices of our array filled with some type of value. So now we have essentially 10 different integers all being stored in this user ages array. Alright, so let's go ahead and print this out. So how can we print this out? We can do system out print line, and if we just wanted to print out, say, the first element, we can do user ages 0 semicolon, and we run that, and it prints out the number 18 because of course that is the first index in the array. We can manipulate the indices just like any other regular integer. So if I wanted to add 1 to that, I can do user ages 0 plus plus semicolon, and now it will print out 19 because it took 18 and added 1 to it. So we can use that just like a regular integer, except now we have this index at the end of it. So let's create a for loop. So for int I equals 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. And now we'll do system out print, and we will print out user ages I plus. I'll put a little comma in there and a space. Alright. So this will go through each index of the array. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and print out the value. Give that a run, and you can see it printed out 18, 52, 34, and all the other ages up through the last one, which of course is 45. Now, a shorter way to create arrays, if you're trying to do something like this where we are assigning many values to different indices, we can do it all kind of as a simplified shorthand, and we do int user ages equals, and we have the opening and closing curly brace, and then we can just enter all the values we want to use as a comma separated list. So 18, 52, 34, 43, basically exactly what I have down here. And then we don't want to have that last comment in there because that is the end. So that will create an array, and it will automatically determine the length based on how many elements you put in here. So in this case there's 10, so it knows to make an array of size 10. And if we run that again, it prints out the same thing. So we did successfully create that array there using the shorthand method. Now let's take a look at a different type of array. Let's create an array of string. So to make a string array, all we have to do is change that int into a string, capital S, and then we can add some values to it. We have to make sure there's quotes, so let's call this user names, and we'll call this one Kevin, Bob, Dylan, Jackson, add some girls in there, Sydney, Kate, Jessica. Okay, so now we have a string of usernames, and we can print them out the same exact way. Usernames, and we will need to change the array length here because now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so we only want to go up to 6. And I was not supposed to put that semicolon there. That goes outside the curly brace. And now we can run that, and it prints out the array of strings now. So that is how we can change the data type for an array. We just have to identify it at the beginning there before those brackets. Next thing I want to talk about is the array length method. And the array length method just gives us the length of an array. So if instead of using whatever I put there, 7 or 6, we can also use usernames.length, and this returns an integer with the length of the array. So we run that again, and it worked successfully, as you can see. It's important to note here that I use a less than and not a less than equal to, because the length of this array is 7. We only want to go from indices 0 through 6. So if I had this go from 0 to 7, what will happen is we get this array index out of bound exception which occurs. And that simply means that we went outside of the bounds of the array. There is no array with an index of 7. There's only an array with the index of 6. So we're unable to do anything with that. Java crashes once we get up to that 7th index. And the last thing I want to discuss is the for each loop. The for each loop is a different kind of loop we can use. So instead of doing for in I equals 0, or like we just did essentially, we can use a for each loop. And that quite simply means that it will iterate through each element in the array automatically. And the syntax for this is for, we'll do for string s, for string s, then we do a colon, and we put the array name in, so user names. Then we do open and close curly braces, and what this is telling Java is we are going to look through this array of usernames and iterate through it each time and take each value and put it into this string s. So s will be the changing string representing each index value in the array. So now we can just do system out.println s, and that will print out every single string in that array. So Kevin, Bob, Dylan, Jackson, Sydney, Kate, Jessica. Same thing would apply for integers. We just would have to change that into an int array, give it int values, and make that an integer instead. So I hope that makes sense. And that is the for each loop. Alright, let's see what is left. The copying arrays method. We can use the system.arrayCopy method to copy one array into another array. And the parameters this guy takes is a source array, a source position, destination array, destination position, and the length that we want to copy. So let's take a look at this example here. We have a string of names called source array, and that looks like it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 elements in it. And we are copying those things from the source array to the destination array. So we create a destination array right here, and we're calling that a new array with 4 elements. So it's going to go from 0 through 3 with the indexes instead of 0 through 7 like the source array does. And then we're using the system.arrayCopy. We're copying from the source array. We are copying starting at position 4. So that means it'll start from position 4, and we're copying this into the destination array starting at 0, and we are copying a total of 4 elements into that, and then we print out the destination array. So let's go ahead, copy that, and paste that into Eclipse and see what happens here. Alright, you can see it copied Bill, Joe, Jim, and Kevin into the destination array, and that worked by starting from index 4, so it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that 4 there indicates this position here, the 5th element in the array, Bill. Copies that into the destination array starting with 0, and we are copying 4 elements, so it goes up through Kevin here and copies those 4 guys into the destination array. So that is the array copy method. We already discussed for each, so let's go on to the review exercise for lesson 5.1. Instructions. Create a simple program that allows the user to enter 5 names. Store each of these 5 names as strings in an array of names and print them out to the screen. So this is a very simple example. All you have to do is create a scanner, use the scanner's next line method to get the next line and store that as a string into this array. And we're going to want this array to have a length of 5, so indices 0 through 4. We enter the names in, and once we get our array filled up, it prints out all the names that we entered. And there's also a review quiz with this, so go online and check that out to test your knowledge. Thanks for watching. Take care.